I had 4 years of chronic shin splints after starting the sport of parkour. They hurt every single time I trained and they made my life absolutely miserable. I tried everything I could to get rid of them. Rehab, stretching, strengthening, foam rolling, you name it, I did it. Nothing made any difference. So I radically and completely changed my approach, and I have been shin splint free for the 6 years since. The standard treatment for shin splints, in my opinion, are pretty rubbish. People who have these long term don't get rid of them. Strengthening exercises like calf raises or shin raises or stretching or foam rolling, these are just treating symptoms. They're not addressing the root cause. Why are the shins so inflamed in the first place? What is making them hurt? We need to understand pain. Pain is not random. Pain is communication. Pain is your body telling you you're doing something wrong. And it's a fantastic teacher because it's going to keep hurting until you do the right thing. This doesn't just apply to shin splints, by the way, but nearly every chronic injury. Pain is communication. What are your sore shins trying to tell you? To understand this, we've got to look at how muscles work. They're meant to contract and then release, traveling all the way through a healthy range of motion. This allows for blood to pump through them and for the muscle to relax in between contractions. All muscles have an active and a relaxation phase. If your muscle is permanently stuck in either one of these phases, it's going to be really, really unhealthy. An easy way to illustrate this is with the bicep muscle. Imagine just squeezing your bicep like this all day, every day. How long do you think it would take before this is in serious pain? Your shin has muscles on it. If they lift the foot up like this all the time, they're going to get really angry. It's going to be permanently on, and it will let you know that it's angry through pain. That's its communication with you. Your shins don't actually have a lot of room on the inside. It's a pretty tight contracted space. And if your shin muscle gets annoyed, it's going to inflame, and that inflammation is going to take up more space. And as it takes up more space, it's going to get tighter and thus more sore. Okay, let's have a look at you moving. I want you to film yourself from side on and have a look at what you look like when you're running and walking, and look at what your shin muscle is doing. Is it ever lengthening? That happens when the ankle straightens. That allows the muscle to relax and lengthen. Okay, what is your ankle doing? Does it ever straighten? Nearly every single person I see with shin splints has a shin that hasn't had a rest phase in 20 years. Okay, and now that we understand the cause, fixing this is relatively straightforward. All we need is rest phases in our leg movements. We start this in walking and then we scale it up to jogging and running and jumping and more complex sports. It's the same fundamental principle at all levels. Last week's video on how to walk properly and thus jump further directly applies to this. And if you want to see this in a little more detail, I'd recommend watching that video, but I'm going to cover it again here and also include some different things. Okay, how to walk properly. If I had to pick one thing people are doing the most wrong, it's that their center of gravity is too far back. When your center of gravity is back, your walking is dictated by the fact that you can only lift your leg in front of you. Your center of gravity needs to be further forward so your leg can go behind you. When your leg goes behind you, this is when you get your rest and relaxation phase for that shin muscle. As the leg straightens with the bum pushing, the quad pushing, and the calf pushing, you get the relaxation phase. If your leg doesn't come behind you, you can never get this rest and relaxation phase. We can think of our weight as our center of gravity, where our torso is resting in space, the weight of us. It's a felt sense of being back or forward. And when we're moving this forward, we need to pay particular attention that we don't just do this from the head alone. This will look like this, and this won't work at all. And that we're making sure we bring our hips forward as well. It's very easy to get these left behind. It will look like this, and it won't work well at all either. This is about bringing yourself forward in space evenly. So people will usually need to bring their chest and their hips forward, which will feel quite strange if you haven't done that before, and usually need to bring the belly and the head the least forward. There is also another mechanism of action at work here. The ground is hard, and if you're not absorbing impact properly, you're literally just hitting your bones into concrete. And that's what tends to happen when you have this weight back, leg reach in front type gait. You literally, for lack of a better word, stab your leg into the concrete in front of you, and this hurts. But fortunately, fixing that first problem with the leg extension fixes this one too. They have the same cause. By getting your weight further in front of you, it allows your steps to happen more behind you. As your steps are more behind you, you're not reaching and stabbing and hitting your leg into the concrete anymore, and you stop that aspect of shin splints as well. This is actually fairly hard to do, and there's a lot more going on here than just contracting your calf muscles and pushing up with those alone. That is not hip extension. That's just squeezing your calf muscle, and that's going to give you more problems along the line. What you really need to do is sort out the reason that you're in this position in the first place, which is your tight hip flexors, back center of gravity, and all the other contributing factors that are causing you to have this dysfunctional walking and running pattern. By now, I hope you can start to see and understand why some of these traditional approaches are so ineffective. This problem has nothing to do with strength or flexibility around the ankle. It's to do with the complex postural balance of the person that resulted in them walking like that in the first place. We can't treat symptoms or randomly stretch and strengthen things and expect the problem to magically get better. We have to understand the root cause. Why did this thing happen in the first place? Taking anti-inflammatory drugs or getting dangerous surgeries where you release the tension from your shins, none of that makes any sense to approaching this problem. Anyways, I'll cover some more common injury problems in future videos. Let me know what you guys would like to see, and if you do want more detail on how to walk properly, would highly recommend watching the last video on how to walk properly, because a lot of those tips are directly relevant to this video as well. Anyway, cheers guys, peace out.